Welcome to BS Draftcast, where we are Brandon and Steven, and we're going to be covering the Monday games that just happened yesterday and talk about some other things going on around the NFL, along with breaking down the games for this coming weekend. As always, I got Steven on the line. How you doing today, bud?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just trying to stay warm.
Yeah, I hear that. I know you had some camper issues over the past couple days. I was glad to hear that those are getting all straightened out. But man, with the weather we've had, it's definitely been crazy, especially out of nowhere. It goes from 40, 50 degrees to in the single digits negatives with the wind temperature, with the wind chill, and just everything snow being dumped on us, and just been brutal.
Yeah, it has. It definitely has.
So let's kick things off. We had two games yesterday. Obviously the early game, the Steelers and the Buffalo Bills. My beloved Steelers got absolutely nuked on. They were down 21-0 at one point until the special teams got that blocked field goal. And then they ended up getting points before half. Now, I do want to start this off by saying this isn't us saying that what we're going to be talking about. This isn't us saying that this would have changed and the Steelers would have won or whatever. This isn't it at all, but it's just a glaring issue that's been going on around the NFL all season for the past two seasons, and that's the understanding of rules and what you're allowed to do and what you can't do, and just, I mean, there's a lot of things that are very questionable that have happened. The Steelers got beat, hands down. They got beat on. They didn't come to play. They got out coached. I mean, just everything. Um, Top to bottom. That poor tackling, terrible play calling. They didn't stretch the field by any means. The run game couldn't get going because they just were run the ball twice and throw the ball on third down. It just I don't know what they were doing. I don't know why the game plan changed, but they got beat, and there's no doubt about it. But there are some glaring issues. What's your thoughts on that game yesterday? I know that you sat and watched it for the most part. What did you see? What's your takeaways from it? What's your thoughts on it? I kind of want to hear your insight on it before we give out the insight from a Steeler fan, and I'm not going to try and be biased by any stretch of the means. Like I said, the Steelers lost; they didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. We never even thought the Steelers would beat the Bills. Never once did we say the Bills would get beat by the Steelers. So I just want to make that known out there.
Well, I think that as a whole, I think Pittsburgh it started off really bad. They couldn't really get the run game going. They were struggling to get the run game going, and out the gate they couldn't do anything right. Drops as a whole kind of killed the Steelers a good bit. Turnovers,
Turnovers.
fumbles, interceptions. Yeah, just interception at a bad time, but one takeaway for Pittsburgh, I would say, is that Mason Rudolph didn't crumble. He made his mistakes and he stayed poised. He stayed locked in. He didn't do what we've seen from Mason Rudolph in the past, where he would just collapse and not be able to bounce back. But at the end of the day, I think that Pittsburgh played well. Uh, we talked about it before about trying to get the run game established, and like I said, they weren't really able to get anything going on the ground yesterday. And I think that the defense shoddy tackling. I mean, I think we can both agree on that.
Oh yeah,
Just
absolutely.
it's just shoddy tackling, and they really shot themselves in the foot quite a few times. Coverage miscues, just kind of a sloppy game, and they didn't have that juice come off the edge with TJ not being there. So losing him, we already knew going into it was going to be a huge loss for Pittsburgh. But I think they played pretty much to how we kind of thought they would. Josh Allen once again gets the legs going, gets things rolling with his legs, and had that big touchdown run that is controversial right now. And I'll let you take over on it from there.
Yeah. So I mean, you said it. The fumbles, George Pickens fumble, they got bailed out when Pat Fryermuth fumbled. I'm not sure how they didn't turn that one over to Buffalo, and they said that he fumbled it forward out of bounds, and I don't know. I thought it was a clear fumble recovery by Buffalo,
I
um,
did too.
but so they got bailed out on that. But the Josh Allen is Josh Allen. He's a tank. He's 6'5". He's 240 pounds. I mean, he's a monster. You let him get rolling, he gets rolling. And me personally, I don't think it changes the outcome of the game, but it does wipe out a touchdown, and who knows the outcome. But there's a lot more glaring issues on the Pittsburgh's offensive defensive side of the ball. But they're saying on that 52-yard run, a lot of reports are saying that it was a fake slide attempt. And if you watch the video, I don't want us to get demonetized or get in trouble with anything, so I'm not going to share the video on my screen because I don't know the legality of that issue of sharing NFL clips or whatever. I think you have to have some kind of license, and I just don't want that for us. But anyone that watched the game knows what I'm talking about. He kind of slowed up, and I seen the video a bunch of times, and he like slows up and like he doesn't quite go down like Kenny Pickett did in that college game, but he like slows up like any quarterback does, and he's about to drop to a knee, and that's their slide. They're giving themselves up, and when he slows up, everyone on the defense slows up because obviously we know in the league you can't hit a quarterback, especially of the nature of Josh Allen with the money that he's making and the name that he has. He is very protected. But if you look at the video, it does look kind of like a fake slide. And I'm not saying that it was a fake slide. I'm not saying that it changed the game. I'm not saying that the Steelers win if they take that touchdown off the board. The Steelers got their ass beat. Any way you cut it, it is what it is. But it leads me right into my next thing on the direct snap. Obviously, it's a direct snap. He's the quarterback. He's getting the ball every time. But it was a designed run play to Josh Allen, and Miles Jack goes in for a tackle as he quote unquote gives himself up, and I don't understand how I don't understand where he's a runner now, like where that comes into effect, because you've seen so many times, there's no flag on the play for unnecessary roughness because the quarterback is a runner. And I know a lot of times they say, oh, well, he's outside the tackles now, he's a runner, he's this, he's that. But it seems like it's a situational flag, and you
Yeah.
said those were your exact words yesterday, and it just seems very situational, and it seems like a lot of like certain refs call it one way, certain refs call it the other way. But if you are in a design quarterback run and you take off up the middle and I can understand if there was 15 yards, he was up the field for 10 yards and there's only one or two guys coming at him and he's like, I'm not going to make a play, and he goes down and they just level him. Absolutely, I get it. Protect the quarterback. But still, in the same sense, he's a runner. Not whenever he is 1 yard beyond the line of scrimmage where it's all jumbled, it's all locked up, and then he decides he's going to go down immediately. He's going to just, oh, there's a guy coming, I'm going to drop. And now it's an unnecessary roughness. It's an extra 15 yards. And once again, I can't repeat this enough, and I can't preach this enough that I'm not saying this changes that the Steelers win this game because of these calls. I'm not saying that at all. The Steelers played piss poor and they deserve to lose. But at what point when is there some kind of clarity on these calls with the quarterback as a runner? And I mean, we spoke on it before, and I like Josh Allen. I've never had an issue with Josh Allen. I like Patrick Mahomes. But and it was the same with Tom Brady. When you play these quarterbacks, you're also playing the referees. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that to be biased by any means, but we've said it. I think back when we first started this podcast, we've said it. You play the referees when you play these big name quarterbacks. But I don't understand as a defensive player. What do you do? I mean, clearly, if they would have smoked Josh Allen on that 52-yard touchdown, they might not have got a penalty and they don't get that touchdown. But they didn't smoke him, and he runs for 52 yards in the touchdown. Now, Miles Jack tries to prevent him from getting a first down because the game was still right on the verge of being out of hand and still being within grasp with some time left. And Miles Jack goes in for the tackle, and then he gets 15 yards, so it's a first down anyway. So what is your insight on these type of plays, these bang plays of quarterbacks? They run up the middle and they're 1 yard, and I think it was a 2-yard gain that turned into a 17-yard gain because they tacked on 15. So you're in a jumbled mess, and then you decide, oh, I'm going to go down. So now now you're protecting the quarterback, and the quarterback on a design quarterback run is now still you're protected by a quarterback rule, but you're a runner and you're looking for a flag on on a play that is only designed for quarterbacks, if that makes sense. So I want to hear your insight on it and what's your thoughts on these quarterbacks that these big name quarterbacks, because we've talked before. I've seen numerous of times Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts did get a call yesterday. He did slide very late. He got hit. They threw the 15. Uh, I didn't quite agree with it. I thought that it was one of that same Josh Allen instance, but it seems like these quarterbacks that are bigger names in the league and are making them more money, and they are protecting them more. And a good friend of mine did say that it is more of a business now, and that is the truth. It's more of a business than it is a game anymore, and unfortunately, that is the truth with everything with the NFL. But what's your thoughts on this situation, just this one? Because there are a couple other points we're going to get to, but just with this one situation of especially with these two calls, the one gives for a touchdown, so they don't want him to get a touchdown. Now they make the tackle, and now it's a 15-yarder.
Yeah, and we talked about this a few days prior too when we were talking about the Dolphins Chiefs game. Something similar happened with Mahomes a few times. It was kind of the opposite though. Dolphins players weren't hitting Mahomes or trying to shove him out of bounds or really touching him at all, and I think it was because they were afraid that they were going to get the penalty. So they were just kind of like hoping to kind of like push him towards the out of bounds and he would just step out. But Patrick Mahomes kept going. And he instead of being an 8-yard run, it'd be a 20-yard run. And I think that there needs to be some level of understanding between the officials, uh, the just the league in general, but also some clarity for the fans too, because if you're watching that Bills game and you're a Steelers fan, or vice versa. If the roles reversed, then you know uh, Mason Rudolph would have did the same deal and went to slide and tacked on 15. Bills fans will be upset. So there needs to be some sort of a clarity on, okay, he's basically a running back now. So you can't you can hit him, you can do whatever you want, in terms of contact.
Yeah.
There needs to be a line drawn. There needs to be if it's a design quarterback run, or even I will go as far as to say, if the quarterback scrambles out of the pocket, whether it's a design run or not, but especially a design run, but whether it's a design run or not, if that quarterback goes out of the pocket and he's running downhill, he's a runner. I think that there needs to be a line there.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember a couple years ago that was a thing. Like the quarterback was out of the pocket, he's now a runner. Where did that
Yeah.
rule go? Does that rule not exist anymore? Is that not a thing anymore? I mean, I don't sit here and study the NFL rules, and I'm not gonna act like I do. But it like is that gone? Like, or is it considered he's still in the pocket even though he's 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage because he's in between the two tackles? He's still he's still a quarterback because he's running up the middle now. And if that's the case, and you said it, I would practice this. I would go into practice, and it's as messed up as everything is in this league, and just in general as everything going on. I would have my quarterback rush up the middle and go to slide and try and time out getting hit and getting 15 yards every single time. And as sad as I don't ever want to see that happen, but I mean it's the God's honest truth. It's just what it is. Um, I don't know. It's a glaring issue clearly because you see it so many on the weekends. Um, but man, there's got to be something. Something's got to give with some of these rules. Another big one. I don't want to sit here and get stuck on the Josh Allen thing because I like Josh Allen. I do. I don't have any hatred towards him. I like Josh Allen a lot. Steelers got their ass beat, and that's just what it is. Another big one too is JPJ got knocked out of the game in the second half. He was covering Stephon Diggs. I think it was a 3rd and long or a 2nd and long. Josh Allen rolled out of the pocket and throws the ball to Stephon. JPJ was in good coverage and was swatting for the ball, and their guard or center, one of their linemen, come up and, I mean, full blown just level him as he is grabbing at the ball to Stephon Diggs, and it snaps his head back, and it knocks him out of the game for a concussion. If anything, shouldn't that be a block in the back? Am I wrong in thinking that? Are you allowed to try and like? And I understand it's on that fine line of it's kind of like the running back when the running back gets stopped and then a lineman grab the running back and it turns into a scrum pushing battle. But whenever you have a 300-pound lineman just full speed, just dead blow right into the back of someone, into their head, I mean that to me should be a block in the back. That's not him trying to like push his guy forward. I mean that's just the guy. JPJ's back was completely turned. I mean completely blindsided by this guy leveling him, and I feel that that's another situation of shouldn't a flag have been thrown on that play? Um, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that play, if you've seen that play happen, but if you did, what's your insight on it? What's your thoughts on it?
I actually did not see that play. I was trying to get the hot water in my camper going again, so I
Okay,
actually missed that play. You had told me about it, but I still haven't seen it.
I got you. Okay, another one, and this is all across the board at every single game. This is, I'm sure you'll see it 4 or 5 times this coming weekend. What the hell is pass interference anymore? One, the George Pickens got held twice, which would have result on twice on 4th down, which would result in first downs. Uh, Kept the drive alive. Whatever. Like I said, this doesn't change that the Steelers got smoked in Buffalo, but it keeps the drive alive. Um, and then the Miles Jack penalty on the tight end, the ball was overthrown into the stands where the players
Yeah.
sit, and it hit the bench. And you see the referees talking, and they're saying, "Oh, it's an uncatchable ball. There's no way he would have caught it." And they flip it to, "Well, it's holding now." So I didn't. How can you go from it's pass interference and then you decide, okay, well, it's uncatchable. Then you flip it. Well, he was held. I don't understand how an official can flip it from one call to another. It just doesn't make sense to me. And they have all this technology, and they when a touchdown scored, they have them quick reviews wherever the headquarters is, and they're like, "Yeah, we confirmed it. You're good. Let them kick the extra point." Why can't that be a thing in penalties? Hey, that it's overthrown. Pick up the flag. Done deal. For me, and you see, and it's not just Pittsburgh. It happens every single game. You see something, you're like, oh, that's pass interference or that's holding, and you're looking for the flag, and there's nothing there, and you're like, wait, they just called that same exact scenario one drive ago. They called pass interference, and now it's not pass interference. I feel like the refs need to be, and it sounds like a broken record. The refs need to be held more accountable for their actions in these calls. I mean, what's your stance on that particular scenario with the pass interference and the holding and flipping of the call? And I know we said it like it's sad to say, but when you play people like Patrick Mahomes, you play people like Buffalo and Josh Allen, you got to play them and the refs, it seems like. And I'm not trying to be a homer, and I'm not trying to stir up anyone's feathers, because I know Buffalo fans and uh, Chiefs fans, and just there's a number of quarterbacks that get it, and you play the refs all the time, and I don't understand how this is just an okay thing in today's game.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, especially at that point. At that point in the game, I mean, Pittsburgh was starting to get momentum and stuff, but they
They were down
were they
7.
gonna?
They were down 7 at that point whenever that flag
Yeah,
got thrown, and then they picked it up and switched it to holding.
yeah, they were getting momentum, and it's like, is it one of those plays where it's there's two fouls on the play, both on the defense? Like, we'll never know, but it did seem a little. It didn't seem right the way that that whole situation went down with that penalty in particular, because it did seem like they were trying to make one call, and then they switched it over, and they switched over to holding, and I don't understand that. I just don't, because you can't do that, because at that point you're fishing,
Yeah, you're
you know.
grasping at straws at that point. You're like, well, we got to
And I'm
call
surprised
something.
that play in particular isn't being talked about more. Like, nobody's really talking too much about it, but like, we watched it live, and it was just really odd. Just the interaction between the officials was just really strange to me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And to your point, like the one official was sitting there saying it was over his head, and he's doing the motion over his head. And then it seems, obviously, we can't hear what the officials are saying, but you see the players standing there trying to listen in like they always do. And the one official that's the back judge saying it was an uncatchable ball, it was over his head, throws his hands up like he was tired of arguing, and they were like, nope, it's holding. But like I said, we don't know what the official said. We don't know. We can only go off of gestures and whatever. And we're not going to sit here and beat a dead horse on this Buffalo Steelers game. Just we're not. Pittsburgh is 1-11 without TJ. Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. They've won three playoff games in the last 10 years. I mean, the list goes on. It's just it is what it is. But one other thing I want to say that's very classless of the Buffalo Bills fans is and I get it, it didn't hit him, but you're throwing snowballs at a professional athlete playing the game when he's going to make a catch. I mean, that's very classless, and I'm not going to dwell on it, but that's classless. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. We all are here to enjoy our sports team and watch our favorite team play in hopes of them winning a Super Bowl every year. But you're throwing snowballs at a player while in the middle of a play. That's going on. That's classless to me. Very classless, and that's just where I'm going to leave that. One thing I do want to touch base on a complete different flip, and actually, I'm gonna let you touch base on it. Is Mike Tomlin's gestures and his demeanor on that sideline? What did you see?
Oh, just from the outside looking in, and every time they put the camera on him, a big play would happen. Buffalo, when they scored that touchdown, that long touchdown, and they put the camera on Tomlin, and he was just standing there. He wasn't. he used to. I remember back when, it's been a while now, but I remember back when Tomlin would get fired up.
He'd be very animated.
He would get very animated. He would get on the official. He would get on whoever. His players. Bills players, whatever, like Tomlin would get real just worked up, and like he would just kind of, show some sort of a passion, a fire, anything. But, I texted you last night, and I made the joke, and I said, Tomlin looks like, some guy's girlfriend that he drug along to the game and she didn't want to be there. Like, that's just what he looked like. He doesn't have that fire in him anymore. He doesn't have that, like, trying to rile his team up. Like, he's just, every time you see him, he's standing there, got his hands in his pockets, or whatever, got the shades on. He's just just like it's any other day, any other game. Like, as a coach, you got to try and motivate those players. You can't just stand there and just let coordinators take care of it. Like, you're the head coach. You got to try and be like, hey, look, that's all right. One big play. We'll go out there, offense, get out there. Do the same damn thing to them. Like, do something. You got to get them riled up, get them motivated.
Yeah, light a fire, something. And that leads me to my next question for you. Is the writing on the wall that Tomlin is – because I know there's been a lot of speculation and talks about Tomlin leaving Pittsburgh, taking a step back and stepping away from coaching. Do you think after seeing, like, his emotions and, like, kind of like he's just not into it like he used to be, do you think the writing's on the wall that – This may have been his final game as a head coach for the Steelers, and he's going to step away after everything's said and done, the smoke settles?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think this is next year. He has 1 year left, right, on his deal?
Yeah.
On his contract?
Yeah,
is a 1 year
so.
deal? Yeah, he has 1 year left on his deal. Maybe he sticks it out. But, yeah, maybe he needs a break. Maybe he's burnt out. I mean, he's been the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers for years. They've had a lot of great years under him, and then they've had a lot of just really bad years. And right now, they're winning games, they're doing their thing, but they've been in kind of a lull the last
Yep.
few years. So maybe for Tomlin and for Pittsburgh, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just mutually part ways and thank him for the glory years where he was that guy that we were talking about a minute ago. Maybe he's just burnt out.
Yeah, I mean, and that you see it happen. I mean, I don't know how many years it's been since. I think it's what 17, 18 years he's been the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, that's a long
Yeah.
tenure, and um, yeah, I mean, like you said it. Maybe he is burnout. Maybe he himself is sick of the mediocrity the Steelers have been. Never had a losing season, but they haven't done anything either. So maybe he's tired of it and he just can't get over that hump, and it's draining him. Because I know if I was a coach and I was doing all the things that Mike Tomlin did uh in his career as a Pittsburgh head coach, I think I would be burned out as well, being like, man, I've had all these great years and I still have only won one Super Bowl, went to another that I lost, and everyone still says that the Super Bowl he won was with Bill Cowher's players. So he could never really get his own Super Bowl ring in a sense. He was still the head coach. I'm not taking anything away from him. But yeah, maybe would be a good thing for him to step away, and I could see him being in a broadcast booth if he does step away. I don't see him stepping right back into a head coaching position, but um, time will tell. I guess we'll see what happens over the next couple months, weeks, however long it takes. Whatever happens, happens. But with that being said, let's move on to this complete meltdown and just abysmal Philadelphia Eagles team. Uh, wow.
That team is, yeah, they're just sad.
I I I know in the podcast releasing the picks, we went with the Eagles -3 and winning this game. I ended up switching the pick, but I will take credit and say that we lost. I'm not going to sit there and say that I didn't say -3. I will take a loss on that, but I also went and put out in the people that do get the picks. I did send out under the number 44. Uh, so I don't understand. Um, that team looked bad yesterday. I mean, it looked bad yesterday. Baker Mayfield looked lights out though. Whether it's the Eagles defense just being that terrible or what, but Baker Mayfield threw for 337, 3 touchdowns. They ran the ball well. Devonta Smith went off, but that's it. I mean, that team looked so bad that I would take a lot of teams in the NFL to be in that position against the Buccaneers over the Eagles. Um, what did you see with this game, and what's your thoughts with this game, and where do you think the Eagles go? Do you think they blow it up? Do you think they get rid of their offensive and defensive coordinator? Because clearly it's a glaring issue in Philly.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know where to start with the Eagles. I mean, we talked about it a good bit a few days ago, and what has really changed for Philly? Personnel wise. I mean, AJ Brown's out, but that's just this past week. He got hurt 2 weeks ago, and he was out for this game, and so on and so forth. But before that, even like the Eagles are just floundering offensively. Can't get anything going on the ground, through the air, and then defensively, they can't stop a nosebleed, man. Like they just they had no answers for Tampa Bay. I mean, they had no answers for Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield, 337 yards, 3 tuds. I mean, Baker Mayfield's been doing the damn thing this year. I'm not taking that away from him. I give him props for bouncing back. He's been through a good bit over the last few years. After Cleveland, he just kind of was floundering around. Went to the Panthers, the Rams, and just kind of floundered around a little bit. But I mean, he's got the Bucks. They're rallying behind him and stuff. And we talked about them having the possibility of winning against Philadelphia, depending on how his ankle held up. And his ankle looked fine to me. But
Yeah, it looked
as
great.
for Philly, yeah, Philly, you got to start looking around. I think you got to look at the head coach. And I like Sirianni a lot. I think he's a really good coach. But you got to look at him. You got to look at the offensive defensive coordinator, and maybe do some soul searching this off season. Maybe not get rid of Sirianni, but be like, hey, like Matt Patricia, like your defense collapsed
Yeah,
over the
bad,
last few weeks. I mean, they just
bad.
collapsed.
And we
Yeah,
know.
and
Good. Sorry.
I don't know, you're good. And even with Jalen, he just reverting back to old habits. Like,
Yep.
where are we going wrong? He's turning the ball over again. He's throwing off his back foot. He's throwing, his mechanics are off. He just looks uncomfortable. He's impatient. Like, where do we go wrong? Philly needs to do some soul searching because they have a hell of a team, a lot of talent, but they just
Absolutely.
need to put it together. Goodness.
And another thing too, like with Jalen, that stretch of them losing games, he was not using his legs at all. Which that's when been Jalen's like bread and butter. I mean, him extending them plays, getting out of the pocket, which he's extending plays, but he's not picking up them easy 5 yards. He's trying to force stuff, which is why they were so good and they were in the Super Bowl last year, was because Jalen would roll out the pocket. He'd look and look and look and look and be like, you know what? I'm just going to pick up these 5 easy yards and make it 2nd and 5 instead of 2nd and 10. So
Yeah.
it I don't know. I don't even know what to say about the Eagles. I did say in the last video that if they go out there and lay an egg, they are banned until they prove me otherwise. So the Eagles will not be bet on next year until they prove that they can figure something out, because that team is terrible. It looks worse than Pittsburgh, and honestly, I wish Pittsburgh was in the NFC and they played the Eagles, because they would probably had a playoff win this weekend. Uh, that's just what it is. It's crazy to me, and no discredit to Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went in and they laid the hammer down. I mean, they beat the living hell out of the Eagles. So no discredit to them at all. He had them guys ready to play when no one was giving them a shot, and they're moving on. They're going to Detroit. So hats off to them. Congratulations to them getting that team right and showing up to play. But the one thing I wanted to say when I rudely interrupted you was, we know that the Eagles owner is very impatient. So that's what I know we talked about it, is Nick Sirianni on the hot seat if they end up going and laying an egg. And not only did they lay an egg, but I mean, it was pitiful. It was bad. So, I mean, you have an impatient uh owner. I mean, look what happened with Chip Kelly. Look what happened, like, I mean, obviously he rode out years with Andy Reid. Andy Reid did his thing, but eventually he moved on with Andy Reid. So I don't know. I don't know if Nick Sirianni's safe. He might be, just for the sheer fact that they were in the Super Bowl last year and where that team was. But I tell you what, if they come out and lay an egg next year, I don't see the Eagles holding on to Nick Sirianni through the whole season. I just don't. And probably that they started out 10-1 to start the year off might have a big play in that too. But I don't know. I don't know what happened to this Eagles team. Like you said, they have a good team. They have talent. I thought they got better on the back end getting Byard, but it clearly it didn't help, because Byard looked terrible yesterday too, with the missed tackles and everything and the blown coverages, and just players were running wide open against that Eagles defense, which is just mind blowing to me. Um, anything else you want to speak on with that? With the Eagles, Buccaneers, or Steelers, Bills games before we move on to the divisional round?
Yeah, real quick with the Eagles, you can't even make the argument of, well, they lost Gannon and they lost Steichen, over the off season. They're both their coordinators, because they started 10-1.
Right.
So
And they're
you can't
running the
even.
same offense. They're running the same exact offense. They said it's the same exact plays as they were running before. So, I mean, I
Yeah, you can't even blame that, on losing those guys. You can't even blame losing both coordinators. And I know Jalen's been banged up this year. He had that knee injury. He had a concussion last month, I think, and then Obviously, the dislocated finger on his throwing hand. I mean, so he's been banged up pretty much all year. So I think that may have a little bit to do with it. But yeah, the Eagles just, my goodness, man.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Honestly, I really do. I agree. There's not much to talk about with that Eagles game because there's nothing to talk about other than us bolstering the Buccaneers with how great they played and how well their defense made tackles. The Eagles rely on their shiftiness on offense and beating them one-on-one matchups with the corners and linebackers, and them corners were tackling anytime there was a screen one-on-one, anytime it was a dump pass to the running back to Swift, he was getting hit immediately and brought down. So all I can say is hats off to the Buccaneers. They came to play, and they deserve to win that game.
Absolutely. Yeah, they absolutely deserve to win that game.
So, with that being said, let's move on to the upcoming games in the divisional round. We got some good games, man. We really do. I'm actually excited for this divisional round. Uh, I think it's going to be fun to watch.
I totally agree.
Start out with your beloved Ravens. They have the first game of the divisional round, and it's at 4:30 on Saturday. They are playing the red hot Texans. I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to let you kind of go off of what the Ravens need to do, what the Texans need to do, so on and so forth. However you want to take it, you take the lead on it. This is your team. I want you to fire away on this.
Man, I am super excited and nervous for this game. A little bit of both, 50-50. I really hope that we used this time with the bye week that we were fortunate enough to have. But as you know, a bye week, especially in the playoffs, it can be a kiss of death for a lot of teams. And you know, you're missing that extra week of actual game speed in the game. So I'm hoping that we come out and we still have the same resemblance of what we were before leading into the bye. So I'm hoping that we come in prepared defensively. You got to be ready for CJ Stroud. I think people now, like leading up to the middle to the end of the season, people really started to catch on and be like, wow, this guy's special. And he is. And people need to realize like he's the real deal. Like he's a rookie, but the way he stands in that pocket, the way he delivers the ball, the way he reads the defense, the way he goes through his progressions he looks like a fifth-year pro. I mean, him and Nico Collins have this connection, and they're just in sync with one another. So Baltimore needs to come out and just run a physical, tough defense and try and make sure that they're getting pressure on C.J. Stroud and they're doing their best that they can with moving Kyle Hamilton around. You got to lock Nico down and try to get him to beat you with you can't let him run on you. If you get Singletary going and Stroud starts hitting that play action, they start eating people up. So you got to just get Singletary shut down. And man, I'm excited. But offensively, we really need to just play our style of ball. Run the ball, use the RPOs, get those receivers up on the back end, get Zay in space, and just do what we've been doing. I'm just hoping there's not any rust that needs to be knocked off, man. But I am super excited about this game. I love and respect the Texans, love their coach, love their players. You know, I'm really excited about this game.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more there. And one thing I want to say is, like with Baltimore, the last time the Baltimore Ravens had the bye week, they were against the Tennessee Titans, and they came out and laid an egg, and the Tennessee Titans went up quick. And it was a fight to try and get back in that game, and ultimately they didn't get back in that game. And it was kind of embarrassing for them to be this dominant team throughout the whole season and go into the playoffs with the first round bye and get bounced by a Tennessee Titans team that no one gave a shot to beat the Ravens. As far as just to kind of go over the same thing you said it best. The Ravens, for them to win this game in dominant fashion, which they did against some of the best teams, They did it against the Dolphins. They did it against the San Francisco 49ers, the counterpart in the NFC with the number 1 seed, the juggernaut that everyone has said that is going to the Super Bowl. They don't care who they face, so on and so forth. They have to play their game. They have to run that ball. Lamar has to be on top of that. He has to be continue that MVP style football where he's extending them plays. He's finding his tight ends. He's getting them in space. He's getting OBJ on the backside. Like you said, Zay Flowers in space. The Ravens has been really prone to be running those wheel routes to those running backs out of the backfield, and it's been eating teams up because a lot of people don't account for the running back to run that delayed wheel route up the sideline. And Lamar's putting the ball on the money, and he's letting his players make plays for him, and that's the recipe for success, as far as I'm concerned. And on the defensive side of the ball, you said it. You cannot let C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins get rolling because it's going to be a long day if you do. Nico Collins has had, I think, 8 catches, 9 catches, 12 catches, 11 catches. I mean, it is astronomical the amount of targets and catches he's getting. And it seems like he's always open. It's not like they're contested. He's jumping over people. It's just these timing routes that he's just wide open on, and they're just eating people up with them. And on the other side of the ball, the recipe for the Texans, if they can hold, and this has been the product to every game that the Ravens have lost, barring I want to say the Colts game, if they can get Lamar Jackson rattled and they can get them off their game and they're forcing Lamar Jackson, which he's proved that he can win a game throwing the ball 40 times. There's no doubt in my mind they could still win. But if they don't let the Ravens control the pace of the game and they force Lamar to uncomfortable positions and they can force turnovers, the Texans have a real shot at this. And I know you're pulling for Baltimore heavy here, and the Texans are happy to be there, and no one expected them to be there with a rookie quarterback. So I think it's going to be a very good game. I think the weather is going to be decent, and it's not going to be super terrible, but I think it's going to be cold. I don't think that will affect C.J. Stroud being an Ohio State quarterback. But I do feel that the Ravens squeak this one out. I think that the Texans are close. They're just not there yet. And I think that Ravens defense is going to be smothering, especially getting Kyle Hamilton back and using him the way that they've been. And if Baltimore gets the turnovers like they did against San Fran, like they did against Miami, it's going to be a long day for the Texans fans. And that's just the way I look at it. That defense has been playing lights out. Them linebackers have been insane. Matabike up front, just pure domination on that defensive front. It all boils down to the Ravens cornerbacks being able to cover and not leaving any of their corners on an island. Give them some support over top.
No, I agree. I think that one thing we got to try and do. You're not going to move Laramie Tunsil. He's just one of the best tackles in the game, and he's so good in pass protection. But the Ravens have to get pressure on C.J. Stroud, whether that's from Matabike up the middle or getting Oweh on the right side of that Texans line. But as for the Texans, I think the same goes for them. If they can get that running game going even a little bit and start freeing up their guys and hitting plays downfield. C.J. Stroud, if the guy's open, Stroud's going to find him. I mean, he's just. I'm really impressed with him from just a rookie perspective. I mean, I'm really, really impressed with the way that he plays. And that Texans defense, you got Will Anderson and Derek Stingley Jr. and Christian Harris, Jonathan Greenard. They got some ballers over there on their defense. So
Absolutely.
Baltimore's offensive line is they're gonna have to come in there and they're gonna have to show up because Greenard he's some Pro Bowl snub for sure, and then Will Anderson he's getting back to being healthy and he's just a menace off the edge. He's relentless. So I think this is gonna be a really good game. Like I truly do. I want my Ravens to pull it out, but I think this is gonna be a very good game.
I agree 100%. The one thing I just actually pulled up on the screen is I wanted to see if Tunsil carried any injury because I know he did get banged up in that game this past weekend, and I was wondering if it was anything glaring or any big issue at all. But I don't see him on the injury report at all. So that's big news for the Texans because I mean, if he's out, that's your blindside blocker who has been holding it down for C.J. Stroud all season. So good news for them on that aspect. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than what the spread is calling for. They're favoring the Ravens by 9 points, but the over under being 44.5, that might be the move as far as a bet goes. These are two offenses that can definitely put up points, and it might turn into a track meet of who scores last. And obviously, the Ravens have the best kicker of all time on their team, and I think if they get into a game where they need a field goal, I don't think they're scared at all for Justin Tucker trotting out onto that field to kick that game-winning field goal.
Yeah, we're getting Mark Andrews back too, so hopefully we utilize packages with him, likely Zay, and have all of our best guys on the field at the same time. And I'm hoping that Lamar doesn't go back. Like it's not a bad thing, but sometimes he would stare down Mark a lot because that's his guy, and he would stare him down, and sometimes it would get us in trouble. So I'm hoping that he continues to distribute the ball around like he has, all year. So I mean, I'm excited to have Mark back. He's probably going to be limited, probably red zone packages and stuff like that, but keep Likely involved and everything. I think our offense could be tough to stop.
Now, is he 100% coming back for this game? Because on the IR, it says that he's on the IR-R, so obviously the reserve, and it says January 12th or January 20th is the return date. So is he going to be eligible for this game, being that he's on that list?
See, I thought yesterday or the day before, I thought they activated him off of IR.
I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I'm curious too. Yeah, I thought I seen that they activated him, but if they didn't, that would suck.
Look at it, Roto Baller. See what they have to say. Injured. Trying to see. Okay, so Adam Schefter reported on the 12th that he is designated to return from the injured reserve. So it looks like that, yeah, he is designated to return, and he should be available to play that game. Okay. That's good news because ESPN just has him still listed as IR and return date the 20th. So, no, I mean, him being designated, he's definitely, as long as I guess he practices and everything looks good, I guess he could be in that game for sure, which is huge. They just can't forget about having Likely because he is definitely filled in tremendously and helped out on that offense, especially Lamar Jackson gaining a lot of confidence in him. And at first, I think Lamar's a little shaky because it's not someone that he's been throwing the ball to. But I think once Lamar kind of got a feel for him and his play style, I think Lamar fell in love with him. So they definitely need to not forget about him if Mark Andrews is healthy enough to play and run some tight end packages and get them both involved. With that being said, let's move on to the Packers and the 49ers. We all know
a really good game.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sold that the 49ers dismantled the Packers. I'm not sold on it. It's one of them games where once again, no one's giving the Green Bay Packers a shot. Last week, and I said it, I put a post out and said, put some respect on our name. We called it the upset of the weekend, and boy, was it an upset. I mean, they dismantled the Cowboys. With that being said, the Packers, I think LaFleur has a little bit of an edge going into this game. Call me crazy, but a lot of people forget that he coached underneath a Shanahan.
Yep.
Back in the day. So he has a little bit of inside information. Yeah, that was years ago, but a lot of coaches don't change. I mean, obviously they get better and they grow with the game, but LaFleur's going to come out and he's going to know what they're going to want to do on defense and what their plan is. And I think the Packers can be sneaky and really shock the world with this game. The 49ers, it just goes without saying, all their weapons, they're dominant, they're a powerhouse, their offense is just a juggernaut. But on the defensive side of the ball, I don't think that they're going to be able to run man coverage against these Green Bay Packers receivers. I don't see it. The Packers came into the season stating, I wish I could find the quote, but they stated they don't have a number one receiver. Everyone is equal. And that takes a lot of pressure off of guys if they're designated as, oh, yeah, that's our number one guy. For them to come in and say, we don't have a number one. We're all equal. We're all here. Like, it takes a lot of pressure off of a receiver to go out on that field, and he feels that he has to show out. But as a collective, we said it last podcast, Jordan Love's spreading the ball around to everyone. Everyone's getting involved. Romeo Doubs had a big game last week. Watson might have a big game this week. I mean, I'm not 100% sold that the 49ers come out and just stomp all over the Packers like everyone's anticipating. I think that the way the Packers are playing and Jordan Love's playing mistake-free football, and that Packers defense is just, they just have a fire, man. They're young, they're fast, they're balling. They're keeping everything in front of them. The one big thing is maybe you have it up on your side. Jair Alexander injured his ankle in that game and didn't return back to the game. I'm not sure what his injury status is as of today. But what's your thoughts, man? I mean, I honestly want to go with this is the upset of the weekend again. I've been riding with Jordan Love and the Packers a lot. If you go back and look at every pick from the start of week one, I've bet on the Packers a lot this year to cover spreads, to win games outright. I've been riding with the Packers, and I seriously want to ride with them again this weekend, 8:15 on Saturday. I don't know. Something about that team, and LaFleur got that team rolling. And what better way for Detroit versus the Packers in Detroit to go to the Super Bowl, NFC Championship? That'd be something. But I want to turn it over to you. I want to hear your thoughts on it and what you think. I don't know. It breaks down to be another thing of, especially on the spread of things, being 9.5 points. I broke it down last week with the Cowboys. The Packers have not lost by more than 4 points. And, I mean, we're talking 9.5 now. So, Steven, what's your thoughts on the 49ers Packers? I know that the 49ers are a juggernaut. I know it's hard for any team to match up for them, but I thought that everyone thought that the Cowboys were going to be a hard matchup for the Packers, and they looked great. Granted, the Packers only had to lock down one receiver. Now they have to lock down quite a few different weapons. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm with you on Green Bay. That's a team too that I've been pounding the table on for a while, just based off of their young talent and their way to get everybody involved, and just you can't just focus on. There's not just one guy. There's so many different guys that they can get involved, and just it throws the whole dynamic of a defense off. So like, okay, cool, we got Christian Watson shut down, sweet, and they're like, oh damn, Jaden Reed. So like, okay, we got Jaden shut down. They're like, oh, here comes Dontavian Witt. So they just have this ability to just spread this ball around, and even with pressure in his face, Jordan Love is just making amazing throws. I mean, he's making unbelievable throws, and I know everybody's like, oh, he looks like Rodgers or whatever. I'm not going to sit there and say all that, but he's just been making amazing throws, making great reads. Just when you think he's getting sacked, he launches one, and it's a perfect pass, and it's Romeo Doubs wide open, and that's kind of what you deal with when you go against the Packers. And the 49ers, it's the same thing. You go and you play against the 49ers, and that offense, Brock Purdy with timing routes is as good as anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, when Debo gets open, he's a running back. I mean, he's a power back. He runs people over after the catch. He's tough to bring down. And then Christian McCaffrey, he's just a do-it-all. arguably best running back in the league. He can do everything. And don't forget about Ayuk, big play waiting to happen. So, and Kittle, obviously, George Kittle and that offensive line that they have over in San Fran. I mean, they pose a lot of problems. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think that people once again are going to look at the Packers and be like, eh, But I think that they may have gotten a little respect in that regard too after that Cowboys game. But the biggest issue with the Packers right now is you alluded to was Jair Alexander getting hurt again in the game against the Cowboys, and it makes you wonder. Cowboys went on that late run in the game. How big of a factor having Jair on the sideline? How big of a factor did that play on the Cowboys starting to really heat up and get CeeDee Lamb involved? So you can't afford to do that if you're playing against the 49ers with Ayuk and Kittle and all them guys. So I think that's going to be the biggest matchup to watch is the Packers secondary against all those weapons for San Francisco.
Yeah, and I think one big thing we're not really saying, and we actually said it, is I think arguably the most underrated running back in the league, and that's Aaron Jones. If they get Aaron
Absolutely.
Jones rushing the ball against that San Francisco 49ers defense, look out. I mean, I'm honestly look out because it's gonna be a rough day if they can control the clock and shorten the game and get Aaron Jones involved. He ended up with 2 touchdowns last week, or well, I guess this past weekend. Um, and Aaron Jones he just does what he does, and he's quiet, and he doesn't get a lot of the respect that I feel he deserves. He's very underrated, in a sense. But yeah, I mean, I just this Packers team is rallying. They're playing well, and I wouldn't be surprised they go up into San Francisco and shock the world. Honestly, I really don't. Um, and that's just where I stand. I think we both had a pretty good coverage on that. Are you calling this the upset of the weekend? Are you using this on your upset of the weekend again, or are you leaning on a different game? I know you're not leaning on Texans. I know that's not a possibility for you.
No, the Texans. No, I think as far as upsets go, I think that I think this game would have to be it because the other games I feel like they could just kind of go either way.
Well,
I think that
you're,
I
you're
think
you're
other
forgetting
games could go either way.
forgetting about one game though, and that's the next game we're going to talk about. The Buccaneers and the Lions.
Yeah, like I said,
Uh,
that one I think it'd go either way.
okay, you're on the either way side. Okay. For me, I'm only gonna say one thing. I'm saying it now. I truly think that the Lions dog walk all over the Buccaneers. I just do. I think the Lions are in the NFC Championship against the 49ers or the Packers. But I don't think I think yesterday for the Buccaneers was a fluke, and it showed how bad that Eagles defense was. And I don't think the Lions defense is that bad. I mean, it ain't great, but it ain't as bad as the Eagles. And I think the Lions dog walk the Buccaneers. And that's just my opinion. Um, anyone can decipher it however you want. You can take the pick out of there. You can bet whatever the hell you want on it. The Lions are dog walking the Buccaneers. I don't see a contest at all. I think the Buccaneers show up like they have, very mediocre. Baker Mayfield comes back to real life, and the story of the Buccaneers going on a run comes to an end in Detroit, and Detroit moves on to an NFC Championship, something that franchise has been starving for years and years. But I want your thoughts and insight on the Buccaneers and Lions. Uh, 3 o'clock game on Sunday. What's your thoughts here?
I think in the end, Detroit pulls it out. I think that with the way that Tampa Bay is and the way they're built, they got a lot of veterans on that team, veterans that have been there before. They got Levante David and Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, like they've been there before. So really, which we talked about before, it's all contingent on which Baker Mayfield are you getting, and I think it's going to be a competitive game. But I think that in the end, I think that Detroit ends up pulling it out. But yeah, like I said, it's a Bucks team that it's young in phases, but at other positions they have a lot of veteran guys they have a ring,
You're not
from
wrong.
Brady being there and everything, and I think they have the veteran, we've been here before, experience on their side going into it. But I do believe that the Detroit Lions end up pulling it out.
Now, in your best of knowledge, what do the Buccaneers have to do to beat the Lions? To completely shatter what I'm saying of the Lions are going to dog walk them. What do you think the Buccaneers have to do going into that insane atmosphere that reached 119 decimals during that Rams game? Uh, which is it's mind blowing. That's crazy. It reached that, but I mean, rightfully so. This is a team that hasn't seen a playoff win since '91. So I mean, rightfully so. And now they have a chance to go to the NFC Championship. So I can only imagine it's going to be that much more loud, in that place. What do the Buccaneers have to do to just suck the life out of that stadium and go in there and beat the Detroit Lions?
I think the Bucks need to take advantage of that beat up secondary that the Lions have. I think they need to get Godwin and Mike Evans. Like, they need to turn into, playoff Godwin, playoff Mike Evans, and really just establish a passing game. Start picking on them corners that are, like I said, they're a little banged up at the cornerback position, and you got to do your best to tune the crowd out and just play your game. Hit Rashad White out of the backfield. That's your safety net. If there's nothing moving, nothing going, dump it off, which Baker's been doing. He's not afraid to dump the ball off, which Baker Mayfield years prior, he would just launch it. But he's been a lot better about that. So that's probably the biggest thing that they need to do. But defensively, you got to get guys like Vita Vea, Levante David, Devin White. They got to plug those running lanes, because once Gibbs and David Montgomery start rolling, that Lions offense, it's wide open. And run and play action, which Jared Goff, we talked about it before, does it just as good as anybody.
Yep.
Once he fakes that play action, Amon-Ra St. Brown, if you're playing zone, he's going to sit down. He's going to get right between your zone coverage. He's going to sit down, and they're going to just nickel and dime you all the way down the field and open up for a big play. So as far as what Tampa Bay needs to do, I truly believe that they need to get those star receivers rolling early.
Yeah, and you can and like yesterday, you can't have them drops that Mike Evans is so accustomed to catching. I mean, the one would have been on the 1 yard line, if not a touchdown, and the other one would have been for 30, 40 yards. So they can't be having those drops like they did yesterday, and that's for sure. So I agree with you. I think usually it seems like we're usually saying that teams need to establish the run, and that's very cliche. But I think with the Buccaneers, I think that they need to establish the passing game and really take advantage of this softer or weaker defensive secondary in the Detroit Lions. Because running the ball on that front is very hard to do against Detroit. They're ranked very well against the run, and no, I agree with you 100%. If the Buccaneers were to go in there and shock everyone under a fired up Dan Campbell squad, I agree with you. I think they need to come out and just light it up in the air, and Mike Evans and Godwin need to get rolling and target them fast and target them early and target them often. Honestly, the game on Sunday, 6:30 game, the game everyone wants to see every year. Yes, that's sarcasm. But the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Kansas City's traveling.
Swifts.
Yeah, the Kansas City Swifts. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, KC Swifts. Let's get it. I couldn't help it. Good.
You know damn well that Taylor Swift will be in the building. That's a guarantee, unless something crazy happens. They're going to Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes, fun statistic that I actually told you yesterday. Patrick Mahomes has never played a playoff game away from home. This is his first playoff game in 15 games away from Chiefs Kingdom.
It's amazing.
Which Honestly, that's got to be some of the craziest shit I've ever seen or heard of in my life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, how many? You said 15 games he's been in the playoffs.
15.
That's just insane.
I mean, that's mind blowing. Chiefs Buffalo. I'm still not sold on these Chiefs, man. I'm not.
I'm not either.
I get it.
No, I think Buffalo takes this one.
They beat Miami, but Miami has played good teams and they lost to good teams. Miami wasn't ready for that cold. I'm still not sold on these Kansas City Chiefs. But it is hard to count out a Andy Reid coached football team. It is.
Absolutely.
Especially with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. This is going to throw a little shade. Is this going to be a game of battle of which referee group? Is it going to be the Bills referee group or is it going to be the Kansas City referee group? Who gets the flags? They're going to be pulling their hair out trying to throw flags in this game. It's kind of messed up, but in all seriousness,
It's all good. It's all good.
In all seriousness, Josh Allen has looked great at the end of the season. I'm not gonna discredit it. I'm not gonna downplay it. And like I said at the beginning of this, I like Josh Allen a lot. Does it turn into one of them games where, like, what was it last year, the year before, where Patrick Mahomes got the ball back with like 20 seconds left, went down, they kicked the game-winning field goal or game-tying field goal or whatever it was, and to turn into one of them games? I just don't think so. I think that Buffalo defense is playing very well, and I truly believe that Buffalo has a shot at the Super Bowl this year. Me personally, I see a Ravens Buffalo AFC Championship matchup. But I feel that Josh Allen is playing very good ball. He made one boneheaded mistake yesterday against Pittsburgh, trying to loft it over the middle, which ultimately ended up leading into a blocked field goal. It should have been a pick, but it turned into a blocked field goal, which turned into 7 points. But that was usually Josh Allen's good for one bonehead play a year or a game, and it didn't cost his team anything that time. I think if Josh Allen plays his game, gets his wheels rolling, especially at home, not in Kansas City, I think the Bills take this game fairly easily. The Chiefs I'm not sold on them. But on the flip side of it, I think if the Chiefs dominate the run with Pacheco and don't solely rely on Rice or Kelsey, I think you might see a lot closer game. I don't think this Kansas City team is built like the last ones where they could score 50 points a game and just you go score for score with them, back and forth. It was usually Patrick Mahomes with the ball. They get in field goal range, they kick the field goal, and they win. I think that they have a much better defense this year. I think this is one of the best defenses Patrick Mahomes has played with. But the offense, I just don't think it's built to air the ball out and throw for 400 yards and just light up the scoreboard. So man, it's hard to bet against the Andy Reid team and Patrick Mahomes, but I don't think that this offense is built to keep up with Buffalo. I truly don't. But with that being said, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you see on the Bills side? What do you see on the Chiefs side? I know you did say that you feel Buffalo's going to pull this out, but what's your insight on this game going in? And I don't think it's going to be a delayed game where there's 17 feet of snow or whatever from that lake effect. I think it's pretty calm weather like it was yesterday, just going to be cold. Obviously, the weather doesn't play a factor for either of these teams, but what's your thoughts on it?
No, I agree with what you said with trying to get Pacheco rolling if you're the Chiefs, because I do think the Buffalo right now, depending on if they get Bernard back, which they lost Matt Milano earlier in the year. That was a huge blow for them.
Man, he was playing great. Man, was he?
He was. God dang, he was sideline to side, he was covering, running down the field with receivers. Like he was just on another level. And Tyrell Dodson got hurt yesterday in the game against Pittsburgh. He
Yep.
got hurt, and it looked like a pretty serious injury. So I hope that he's okay because he's a young, up and coming linebacker. He's played really well in Matt Milano's place, and Bernard was hurt as well. So if they can get their young linebackers back, because they're all fast, they're speedy linebackers and they can move, and I think that's going to be crucial for the Bills is to get those young guys back. But if you get Checo rolling, try and keep Rashee Rice on the hot streak that he's on, and obviously Travis Kelce's always a problem, but just with the Bills, if Rasul Douglas doesn't play, they miss Trey White. He's been out for dang near the whole year, so just that Bills secondary is a little you know. It's just can they keep up with Rice? But I mean, if you just have to deal with Rice, if you got Tony over there dropping everything that touches his hands, it's how's the Chiefs supposed to keep up with that high-powered Bills offense? So I think that the Bills are going to end up being the ones to pull it out, especially if they play the same game that they played against Pittsburgh, where Josh Allen's he's running, he's throwing, and they're able to get the running game going on their end. They're just a tough team to beat, and it's kind of a tough matchup for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with that. Honestly, it's a very tough matchup for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to need a big game from Jones and just containing Josh Allen. If you let him extend them plays and them receivers and running back tight ends get loose, I mean it's going to be a long day for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and that Chiefs offensive line too. I mean the tackle
Yes,
positions especially.
yes,
God, yeah, they haven't been playing the best. So Greg Russo and them could probably put some heat on Patrick Mahomes, which would not be good.
yeah. And I mean we all know Patrick Mahomes is an escape artist, and he does it every week. And honestly, I think my X factor for the Chiefs, which is going to sound crazy, is if the Chiefs want to squeak out a victory in Buffalo, and I can't say it would shock the world because it is the Chiefs, it is Patrick Mahomes, it is Andy Reid, but I think
Yep.
the X factor lays on Patrick Mahomes' legs. Him not forcing the ball, trying to rely on someone making a incredible catch, and I think it relies on him using his athleticism and his legs to extend and get first downs, get them 5, 10, 15-yard gains down the field, and obviously protecting himself, getting out of bounds or sliding early, trying to draw that 15 yards.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I honestly think that could be the X factor. Patrick Mahomes on a third down, um, just extending the drive by using his legs. But that goes also on the flip side. I think that McDermott will be prepared for that. He knows that has killed his team more times than he'd like to admit with Patrick Mahomes, and I think that he'll be ready for either a D end to drop into a spy or maybe keeping a linebacker kind of on the line of scrimmage in case the running back leaks out, and if he doesn't, the linebacker kind of spying Patrick Mahomes, not letting him break them big runs.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. The Chiefs are really going to need, if it's not Kadarius Toney, which I mean, all the talent in the world, just mental lapse after mental lapse after mental lapse, and
Yeah, yeah,
I think that guys like Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Richie James and those guys, like they need them to step up now more than ever because this is the Bills, and the Chiefs and the Bills have had some. I mean, they've had some amazing games. That one game a few
yeah.
years ago, it came down to overtime when they changed the rules because of it.
Yes,
Like
yes.
that game was one of the best games that I personally have ever watched in my life, and it was just big play after big play, just boom, boom. But it was amazing. So the Chiefs they know how to play Buffalo, and they play Buffalo tough, and vice versa. Buffalo plays the Chiefs tough. So yeah, MVS and them guys, they got to step up. This game, out of all the games, they got to step up this game.
The time is now. What did Santonio Holmes say in that Super Bowl? It's time to be great, and that's what Patrick Mahomes needs to be beating in these receivers' heads. It's time to be great. You guys have been lackluster all season. It's really been Rice and Travis Kelce pretty much. And what's their other tight end's name?
Noah Gray.
Yeah, Noah Gray. It's honestly been them three guys, and MVS honestly looks like he's not even, doesn't even know what he's doing out there. It doesn't even seem like. I mean, then again, Patrick Mahomes might not have confidence in him, but it's time for them guys to be great. It's got to come from someone that they haven't done it all year, and you didn't expect it from them. I personally feel if the Chiefs are gonna try and go into Buffalo and take away the Buffalo's season, that they're peaked at the right time, they're hot at the right time, and they're rolling. So I agree with you 100% that that's kind of what the recipe for a winning game for Kansas City with that. Um, one big thing that I want to say too is obviously it's I haven't heard it from him, or there wasn't a public announcement from him, but there is rumors stating that Jason Kelsey said in the locker room after that Tampa Bay game that he is retiring. And I just want to say big congratulations to Jason Kelsey, if this is his final hoorah. What an amazing career he had. I know you love Jason Kelsey, and just the dominant force that he has been over the course of his career with the Eagles. Anything you want to say on that?
It's funny you mentioned that because at the end of these podcasts, you're always like, you got any last thoughts or anything like that? And it was in the back of my mind the whole time. I was like, I'm going to bring up Jason Kelsey and stuff. And yeah, I share the same sentiment, man. He was just a consummate professional, awesome guy, great dad, just a really just down to earth, just like you and me. Just he likes football, man. He loves football, and I watched his podcast a good bit with him and Travis, and it's just it is sad, but I'm happy for him. He's had a he's had a great career, future Hall of Famer,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely, no question.
brought a I mean, he's a center, and I get that offensive linemen don't get any love, but man, they brought a championship to Philadelphia, and he played a big part in that as one of the leaders of that team, and he's been lights out since he's been in the league. So I'm happy for him. He deserves the retirement and gets to hang out with his wife and kids. So congratulations to him.
Absolutely. As always, we're gonna close this segment out. My picks for the weekend. They're coming out a little early. I know it's only Tuesday. These picks could change just like they did over the weekend. We went with the over in the Pittsburgh Steelers and Buffalo game. It smashed with ease. And then we went with the under in the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If they do change, I will try and put out a video. If not, this actually is big news. I'm going to put it in the description. BS Draftcast will now have a Twitter account that I will post every single pick that is getting put out on there. This is free information that typically the people pay for as information. And right now we're just trying to get out there, get rolling. Not saying that I'm gonna start charging for these picks or anything, but if you tail the picks, at least give us some love, show some love, drop a follow, drop a like, whatever. Give us a shout out. But yeah, Steven actually didn't even know this. As of basically at the end of this podcast, the Twitter account will be going up. It'll be BS Draftcast, same thing as the YouTube channel. And that's where all the picks and information will be posted. And if a pick does change, it'll be posted there. And if I can get a video out, I'll get a video out. It'll just be short, sweet, simple, letting you guys know that a pick has changed. But looking at these lines right now, as of today, January, what is it, the 16th? Yeah, January 16th.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm looking at Texans Ravens. 9.5 points is a lot for a Texans offense that's high powered, but also the Texans have struggled against a dominant defense in which the Baltimore Ravens have. But the Baltimore Ravens have put up a tremendous amount of points as well. So I'm going to go with the over 44.5. I just feel that this could be a high scoring game. Even if it isn't a high scoring game, I think the Texans at least get a touchdown or two and the Ravens cover the rest of the points. Same breakdown as last week against the Cowboys. I'm taking the Packers plus 9.5. I'm riding with them. It is what it is. The Packers have not lost by more than 4 points, 5 points, and they're giving them 9.5. I think the Packers keep it respective. I do think This is our upset. This is my upset pick of the week. I truly think that the Packers have a real shot. And I love the thought of the Packers versus Detroit in Detroit, NFC Championship game. The winner goes to the Super Bowl. I'm taking the Packers plus 9.5. Tampa Bay, Detroit Lions. I said it earlier. Detroit Lions dog walk the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 6.5. I'm not saying anything more. The Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills. They're given under 3 points at home. Josh Allen has to redeem himself against this Kansas City Chiefs, Patty Mahomes led team. Oh man. 46.5 is the over under. I don't think Kansas City can score points. I think Kansas City's defense is very underrated. I'm taking the Bills minus 2.5. I think they will win by at least 3. I'll go as far as saying the Bills win by at least a touchdown. Those are my 4 picks. Over 44.5 Texans, Baltimore, Packers plus 9.5 against 49ers. Detroit dog walks the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 6.5. Buffalo Bills minus 2.5. Anything else you want to close out with, Steven?
No, man. I think we pretty much covered everything.
All right, perfect. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in. We're glad that we actually got to go live on YouTube now. Hopefully, we can keep rolling on the YouTube live. We don't have no issues like we did last time.